Bookstores drive me crazy. I'm not talking about libraries or used bookstores or art bookstores or museum bookstores. I'm talking about bookstores that sell new books, crisp, unworn, unwrinkled books. Books with no past, no stains, no previous owners. But why? Why do they drive me so crazy? Well, I think it has something to do with the cover art or the colorful and coordinated patterns of their spines. Bookstores are basically like art galleries with stories attached. Another thing that blows my mind about bookstores is how powerful the merchandise is. This book started a war. This book invoked a fatwa. This book was passed down orally for hundreds of years. And here they all sit before you, and I've barely read any of them. And this is really what drives me insane. There's so many books, but not enough time. Between Netflix, podcasts, social media, binge-worthy cable shows, The New Yorker, and the 24-hour news cycle, how the fuck am I supposed to find time to pick up a book? I guess if I had to describe this feeling, it would be like the reading version of FOMO, which is just exacerbated by the staff picks section. Or those little award stickers. I can never leave the bookstore without buying at least 3 books. And we all know what happens to them. So my quest is twofold. First, I'm gonna search for the most beautiful bookstore in the world. Well, not really the whole world, mostly just Western Europe and South America. And second, I'm gonna ask a bunch of incredibly smart people to help me figure out how to read more books. Because right now, my whole content diet is out of whack, and if I continue at this pace, I'm gonna know jack shit before I die.
I wanna first show you what you're currently doing, because that will actually stress you out in a way that I think will be helpful.
This is Tim Urban. He's an entrepreneur, a TED speaker, and has a pretty influential blog called Wait But Why, which influences the likes of, well, Elon Musk. I figured if anyone could help me get perspective on my bookstore anxiety, it would be him.
Okay, so how much do you read?
I probably read, if I'm being honest, like a book a year. Okay, I need to qualify this. When I say 1 book a year, I'm just meaning 1 book for pleasure, simply, not for work or skimming self-help books.
How long are you gonna live?
My oldest grandparents lived till about like 90.
So you have 55 years left. So let's just look at this here. All right. Okay, it's a book. So this is the book that you're gonna read this year, okay? And this is the book you're gonna read next year. And this is the book that you might not finish because you're gonna die while reading this book here, okay? This shelf here, up here, is about 55 books. This is all the books you're ever gonna read again. This is it.
I wish I had read more books.
Let's just figure out how fast you read. I want you to read from here to that dot. Okay, go.
Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul. Lolita. The tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate to tap at 3 on the teeth. Lolita.
Okay.
Okay, 6 minutes and 27 seconds.
It felt like eternity.
Okay, so you read about 1,550 words in 6 minutes and 27 seconds. 397. This worked out really nicely. You read a book in about 10 hours. Somehow I feel like you don't, but I'll give it to you. You were racing there, you were timing, but look, let's just give you the benefit of the doubt.
Sleep is good, but books are better. George R.R. Martin.
Okay, you're awake about 16 hours a day. That's 32 half hours a day. It's kind of a lot, 32 half hours, right? Currently, at 1.64 minutes a day, this is what max allows to reading now. But if you allotted one of these of every day to reading, you will become a major reader who will read 1,000 books instead of 55.
Wait a minute. To read 945 more books before I die, all I need to do is read 30 minutes a day?
Someone will be like, oh, my grandfather, he's this great reader. He's read everything. That's you versus being like, yeah, my grandfather literally has not read anything ever. The secret of the people who are like, yeah, here are my 10 favorite books of 2016, and you're just like, how do you, they just do this and you don't.
Tim was giving me new hope. Maybe there was a way to overcome my book anxiety after all.
You wake up in the morning and you flip on an audiobook while you're brushing your teeth and making breakfast. Done. That's it. You've done your 30 minutes. If you read for 2 hours every Saturday, you like to wake up in the morning and you have a Saturday session in a coffee shop reading, you've just done 4/7 of your week. It's very inspiring when you realize how easy you could read 1,000. And this is at your slow-ass reading rate. This also just speaks to the power of habits, because if you have the right habit, that's a breeze. If you don't have the right habit, you'll do it 4 days in a row and then you'll take 40 days off. At 30 minutes a day, only, you can read this, and War and Peace, and Moby Dick, and 3 other books.
Okay, we are now heading to Europe, to Brussels first, actually, to see one of the most amazing bookstores in the world. First stop, Brussels, a city famous for beer, chocolate, Tintin, the EU, and now a bookstore on the city's outskirts called Cook & Book. Okay, so I am here at Cook & Book. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but look at the size of this place. It's spread out across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buildings. Over here. Cook & Book's 9 different libraries include the Literature Room, the English Bookstore, Travel, Fine Arts, Comics and Graphic Novels, Music. Oh, and then there's the Home and Garden Room, the Cookbook Room, and the Children's Bookstore. It's like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, but the bookstore version. Okay, well, today has gotten off to somewhat of a rough start. I had wanted to leave Brussels at 11, but I woke up at around 11:30. So it's now 1. The bookstore closes at 6. And I'm renting a car to drive to Maastricht, which should only be about an hour and a half. We've got the rental car. Okay, here we go. The great European driving experiment. I think I'm on the wrong side of the road already.
It's a church, Dominican church, and it's empty for almost 200 years. We celebrate Carnival in it. It has Christmas markets in it. Napoleon stole his horse and carriages over here. Different things.
My favorite story about the church is that it housed the local guillotine in the 19th century. Indiana Jones. I like these books. Do you read a lot of books?
Yes, 50 to 60 books in a year.
50 to 60 books a year?
Yeah. Yes.
That's a lot of books.
That's a lot of books, yeah. There's a lot of reading.
Do you watch TV?
Little, just little. Yeah,
Little
not
TV.
much. Yes.
I hope I will be able to confide everything to you, as I have never been able to confide in anyone. And I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support.
How do you make time for all those books?
I go to bed early and make time to read. Yes,
How many hours a day would you say you read?
1 to 2 hours. Yes, depends how tired I am.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. I like big books and I cannot lie. I think that I'm overdoing it with news. I gorge myself on news.
So you said you read the news about 20 minutes a day, and you're on social media another 30. 50 minutes a day of those things adds up to 304 hours a year, which would be, at your rate, over 30 books.
So you're saying there's a 30-book shelf that's filled
With news and social media. Right now, what we're doing is we're taking a 30-book shelf that you are reading every year, and we're taking 17 of the news social media books out, and we're putting in 17 new books. There's a blog called Barking Up the Wrong Tree by a guy named Eric Barker, and his blog is super popular, it's great, and it's about, in order to write, he needs to read 1 or 2 or even 3 things just to write one post. He does a post every week, so he must read 50, maybe 100 books a year. He has some magical secret, I don't know what it is, but you're trying to go to 18. If he's reading 50 or 100, that's a whole different thing. And again, he does other things with his time, so I don't know what his secret is, but you should talk to him.
My name is Eric Barker, and I'm an addict.
This is Eric Barker. Over the last 10 years, he's become one of the most popular writers on the internet with his blog, Barking Up the Wrong Tree, now available in best-selling book form. His posts like 6 hostage negotiation techniques that will get you what you want and how to make your life better by sending 5 simple emails draw from cutting-edge findings in science and human behavior to distill clear and simple life hacks, like talking to yourself using the word you
can do it. You're the best.
is actually more effective than using the word I can't. I suck. For each post, he does a ton of research, including reading multiple books and journals and conducting long interviews. And he's posting 1 a week. So how do you do it? What's your process? How do you get through so much material?
On my phone, I don't have Facebook, I don't have Twitter, I don't have email. My instinct to check social media, I've redirected towards the Kindle app. I give myself 3 checks a day, unless there's an explicit reason where I know an important email's coming in. So it's like, you can check everything now, Facebook, Twitter, email, get it all done. But anytime I have that urge to check, I pause for a second and I'm like, is there a good reason for this? And if not, I redirect that towards reading a book.
Yet habit, strange thing, what cannot habit accomplish?
Do you read on your iPhone?
But most of my reading takes place on my iPad, where it's really
Is it
comfortable.
iPad or Kindle?
It's the Kindle app on the iPad.
Interesting.
This also just speaks to the power of habits, because changing a habit is like overriding your current software, and if you do it enough times, what's cool about your brain is it rewrites it to accommodate the new behavior. You're saying, oh, I guess we're doing this every day now?
In his book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg says habits emerge because the brain is constantly looking for ways to save effort. When an action becomes a habit, it actually moves to a different part of the brain. You see, decision-making and willpower take place in the prefrontal cortex. That's prime real estate. When we turn an action into a habit, it migrates to the basal ganglia, and therefore frees up space in the prefrontal cortex for other, more important decisions.
There's one expert in terms of habit formation, B.J. Fogg at Stanford, and I love this one principle he uses. It's called minimum viable effort. When you're trying to build a habit, he says the key thing is consistency, because if it's not consistent, it's not a habit. So, minimum viable effort. You want to start flossing more? Okay, floss one tooth. Just floss one tooth. Make it so simple that you can't not do it. I'm gonna read one page. It's so simple, I can't not do it. I'd feel like an idiot. Once you can do that for like 2 weeks straight, great, 2 pages. As opposed to setting this crazy high goal, failing, feeling bad, not wanting to do it. Now you've got a Pavlovian association where it's like, oh, I tried that, it didn't work, I don't feel good.
In discussing helpful ways to build a habit, Duhigg talks a lot about rewards, like giving yourself a piece of chocolate, or in my case, a mini Cinnabon, every time you perform a desired habit.
The difference between the 1,000-book reader and the 55-book reader in their lifetimes isn't really much. It's one has the right habit and the other one doesn't have the right habit.
Rigid, the skeleton of habit alone upholds the human frame.
Do you read one book at a time, or do you read like 5 books at once?
I read multiple books at once, and especially, when you're starting out, trying to build that habit, totally read multiple books, because once again, you kind of want that, you want to be excited. And at least at first, it's like, if you're excited about something and then it doesn't pan out, you're not so much, fine. The most important thing is you want to keep reading. You want to build that reading habit. So if it turns into a slog, put it aside, take the next one, because first and foremost, just make sure you're enjoying it.
What I kept hearing him say was, allow yourself to fall in love. It's okay to date a lot of books at the beginning before you really make a connection with one. But then once you do, throw yourself in full bore. Maybe if I only focused on how excited I was to read my current book, so much so that I just read it at every free moment I had, on the subway, in an Uber. At times I'd just be mindlessly checking social media. I mean, if I did all that, I could surely make a habit of reading 30 minutes a day. Couldn't I? It's also worth noting that on Eric's blog, he explains another good hack to forming a habit is using friends to hold you accountable.
I will read Infinite Jest with you. We'll have a book club.
All right, so are we gonna do Infinite Jest?
I'm gonna start this. It seems, even as I say that, I'm like, there's no way I could ever read this.
It is just like 9:15 in Porto, Portugal. I'm going over now to Livraria Lello, bookstore Lello. Oh my God, there's a huge line to get into this place. What's interesting about Lello is that they actually make you buy a ticket for €4. But those €4 are against any book that you might buy in there. This is a shit show. Total shit show. It's like Wimbledon over here. Are there always this many people here?
This many, yes. Every day. We're talking about 1 million a year, which is 3,000 a day.
It's the most authentic Harry Potter universe that actually exists. That's my going theory.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much.
J.K. Rowling apparently lived in Porto. She was married with someone here, and she used to come here and write. Where you were upstairs before, we used to have a cafe. It was a very quiet place, like most bookstores. And she was so overwhelmed with the beauty of it all. She would come and sit down and write here. And they say she got inspired by a lot of the details we've got here, the stairs, for example, the fluidity.
Behind the wall was a spiral staircase that was moving smoothly upward, like an escalator.
She took things from town, from the fountain next door, from the students wearing black.
First-year students will require 3 sets of plain workrobes, black.
Most people come here thinking the movie was actually filmed here.
Hi everyone, I'm Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader. I'm here today to share with you some of the strategies that helped me get into the Guinness Book of World Records. So let's get started.
We have Howard Berg with us this morning. He is the world's fastest reader.
The world's fastest reader, Howard Berg, is wrapping up Max Baucus's healthcare bill.
I'm the world's fastest reader. I can read around 80 pages a minute.
This supersonic speed put Howard in the Guinness Book of World Records and on the road teaching others his skill.
It's not a magic trick. It is a skill, and it's something people can learn. That's my whole point of doing this.
I'm going to show you how to increase your reading speed. I'm going to show you why you read slowly. I'm going to show you how to improve your comprehension, which I think is far more important than your speed. In fact, before we're done today, I'll show you the meaning of life, if you'd like that. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Actually.
Howard is the fastest reader in the world, so I asked him to teach me his world-famous speed reading technique.
Are you from New York originally?
I am from New York.
I thought so. I heard a little of that twang.
I figured if I could up my pages per minute, then I could easily read more books before I die.
Okay.
To start speeding up, you're going to take your hand, and you're going to go one line at a time with your hand going from the left to the right margin, from the left to the right margin. With your eyes following your hand, you go one line at a time, all the way across, eye following the hand, eye following the hand. And here's the secret sauce, as fast as you can comprehend. And just doing that one change will bump you up by 10 to 20%.
So just doing this line by line?
As fast as you could comprehend.
I was told not to do
That's
that.
right. And they told you a lot of things in school that were wrong. What they did when they taught reading is they had you read aloud. It's like someone's in back of your head pronouncing one word at a time. When I'm reading 80, 90 pages a minute, I'm seeing movies. And then when I want to remember what I read, I play the movie back, and I'm seeing the details in my movie, and I'm converting what I'm seeing back to sound. So we're going to learn Paul Revere, but we're going to use the senses and not just the way we normally would learn it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So Paul Revere, okay, he stood near Boston Harbor, and he smelled and tasted salt. Okay, I want you to smell and taste the salt. He saw the light in the tower. See the light in the tower, one light by land.
So you're having me
experience it.
Uh-huh.
He mounted his horse. He felt the saddle pressing against him. Do you feel the saddle?
Mm-hmm.
He started to ride, and on the cobblestones, he heard the... And then he got in the woods.
This is what you mean by feel it as a movie.
Hear it, feel it, smell it, touch it, taste it, experience it. And he heard the hooves on the soft ground, and he could smell the pine trees in the woods. In a textbook, it would have said, Paul Revere warned the regulars the Minutemen were coming. And the next day, all you'd remember is I read something about the Revolutionary War. But if you experienced it, you smelled the smells, you heard the hooves, you felt the saddle, now all of your brain is engaged. It's immersive. You're experiencing it as if it's happening. Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Go. What's happening is the part of your brain that listens to the words won't be able to keep up. And it's like, this isn't working. I can't read like this. And I want that to happen because then there's only one place in your brain which can process the data at that speed. Because of the stress and because of the confusion, the part of your brain that makes movies switches on. and then you are reading faster and you do know what you're reading, stop. Now, look at where you are compared to where you were the first time.
Yeah.
You're about 10, 20% faster.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how easy this is.
I am in Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm heading right now to the world-famous Ler Devagar bookstore. They're opening up a little early for me because I wanted to fly a drone inside the store. Manuel.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, this is Manel. He had the best drone footage of Lisbon on YouTube when I searched yesterday. How old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17. Yeah. Amazing. He and his assistant Nuno, also 17, are here to help me shoot this. All right, well, we're already having some problems with the drone. Manuel is sweating over here.
We have to link something, then we have to link the why it's still making this.
Come on, get it up.
We have a bookshop, but we have also a restaurant, a patisserie, a bar, an art gallery.
What does Ler Devagar mean?
Ler Devagar means read slowly, because all things that we do, we must do slowly or with time.
If I can only go to one other bookshop in Portugal, which one should it be?
Outside Lisbon, Lelo in Oporto, Arquivo in Leiria, Fonte Letras in Évora, and all bookshops in Óbidos.
In where?
Óbidos.
Wow.
In Óbidos. And this,
So that town
book
is
town.
the whole bookstore town.
Yes, yeah. They are 14 bookshops, and the inhabitants in the center of the city are 62. 62 inhabitants and 14 bookshops.
It was my last day in Portugal, and I didn't really have a lot of time. So I rushed up to Óbidos and tried to see as many bookstores as I could before everything closed. This one's in a church. This one sells fresh produce. The bookstore that's in the church just told me about another bookstore that's amazing, that's like a labyrinth of books, but it closes in like 5 minutes. My search for beautiful bookstores was starting to make me as anxious as my reading problem. I'm literally inside of a dark maze of books right now. There was so much to see, but just not enough time. And there's like some chocolatey thing dripping from the ceiling. If this is not a living metaphor, I don't know what is. I'm standing in the Literary Man Hotel, and it is the most amazing hotel I've ever seen in my entire life. But I can't possibly film anymore today. Right now I'm recording this on my cell phone because all my other cameras, the batteries are dead because I've been shooting all day. But look at this place. I have to come back. I mean, that's just it. I have to come back here.
The train is approaching Terminal B.
All right, we are here now in Prairie View, Texas. Well, actually, is Prairie View the name of the place? Yes. It is, okay. right here.
Okay.
Do you prefer to sit or stand?
I can sit.
Dr. Ruth J. Simmons is a total baller. Born the youngest of 12 children to a sharecropper family in Texas, Ruth became the first African-American woman to head an Ivy League university when she became president of Brown in 2001. She's also a world-class scholar in comparative literature and still teaches many courses on the topic to this day. So I figured she'd be the perfect person to tell me what books we should be reading in our limited time.
I'm much less convinced than many others that there is a prescriptive list of books that you must read. I'm more convinced that it is the reading widely that matters more than anything else. Not a list of things that people have said, these are the things to read. No, I don't buy that at all. I know a lot of people today like to do things on the fly. You can't read a book on the fly. Thank goodness, right? Because forced meditation is probably a good thing.
Is that what you feel books are, forced meditation?
They can enable it if you're not disciplined enough to meditate otherwise. I remember that, Brown students would come and they'd show me their schedule and, everything is so laid out and they're very intense about it and they've got to do this and then they've got to do that and so forth. And I always say to them, I want to see you sitting on the green with a book. Stop. Reflect. If you don't do that, you are a lesser human being, for sure, for sure. The busyness does not make our lives meaningful. It is the interior life that makes the greatest difference to us in the end.
Maybe the whole purpose of reading wasn't to learn more, but to get in touch with that deep and quiet part of yourself. Your inner temple, so to speak.
If you enforce reading, you're likely to enforce time for reflection, because it's hard to read without reflecting.
This reminded me of something Howard Berg said.
I don't start off at that
what's
speed.
Your low speed?
It's as slow as I want. I've learned to shut it off when I want to. Like if I'm relaxing and I'm reading and I'm enjoying something. I mean, do you want to read, let's say you're a Harry Potter fan and you waited 10 months for the next book. Do you want to finish in 3 minutes? It's like chugging Dom Perignon or looking at the Mona Lisa on a skateboard. You don't get the ambiance, the flavor.
Well, if the fastest reader in the world likes to slow down when he reads, maybe I should too. All right, this is the last stop on this journey, Buenos Aires. Okay, today is the day. I'm going to the #1 most beautiful bookstore in the world, at least according to the internet. I finally made it to the promised land. Now I just need to go in and film it. El Teatro Gran Splendid started as a tango theater in 1919, and then became a movie theater in 1929, and eventually a bookstore in 2000. These bookstores are like temples. Some of them have even been churches. A place to get in touch with your higher self and nourish your soul. There's something about being in a bookstore that makes you feel infinite, like you can touch the magic. And when I look at it that way, it doesn't make me so anxious.
All right, well, that just about does it. I've seen almost all the most beautiful bookstores in Europe, North America, and South America. At some point, I'll have to make a volume 2 in Russia and Asia and Australia. But until then, I think this will have to do.
On the way to the airport, I reflected on what this journey was really about. What reading is really about.
When we read, we are transported to another space, another seat.
You lose yourself. You forget everything that's happening outside. It's just the most amazing thing.
You can fly when we read a book.
But it only works if you slow down enough to hear the hooves, to experience it, to get to that quiet place inside yourself where you're reflecting, and build a habit out of it. Just 30 minutes a day, or 3 hours a week. With all the ways you can read now, there's almost no excuse.
Forced meditation is probably a good thing.
And the best part about it is that it should be fun.
First and foremost, just make sure you're enjoying it.
Unlike the gym, this is not a bad square. This is one of your favorite rectangles of the day.
And the meaning of life? Well, Howard still needs to explain that one to me.
It's not hidden. It's in plain sight, but it's scattered through thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of books and art and music. The pieces of the puzzle are all out there.
So Tim, it's been literally maybe a year since we met.
Yeah.
How are you doing with Infinite Jest?